All right, it's June 30th, 2025. And of course, we've got all kinds of news going on in the world and around the world. And we'll be talking about that here on Pod TV. And I've got Rick Rosner joining me as well. So we'll see what we've got going on in the world of the news. And all along those lines, I did see that Kerr Starmer has got things going on with the UK and all along those lines. So definitely I'll bring in Rick as I bring in the news reports because the news report just disappeared on my computer, but that's okay. We do know that Kurt Starmer has got this whole notion of trying to bring a two-state solution, and he was basically saying that he's basically, I guess, put out an ultimatum and all along those lines. But I'll try to get to that in a second and see what we've got happening in that part of the world and everything. How are you doing in terms of fighting that COVID and all along
I'm,
those lines?
I'm almost better, I hope. I don't know, but with COVID, you can't tell day to day. It can pop back up. But what's going on is the biggest earthquake in the world since 2011.
Oh,
And
wow.
the whole world on tsunami watch, though I think the time has passed. So, Russia, it happened off the coast of Siberia. Um, so Russia got hit with some bad tsunamis. I think everybody else did okay.
Gotcha. Well, like I said, apparently the UK is to recognize the Palestinian state unless Israel stops the Gaza war, and that's going to happen in September unless the Israel Hamas ceasefire is reached. And then the freed British Israeli hostage accused Starmer of moral failure over the move to recognize Palestine and everything like that. And Israel far right minister promotes plan for Jewish resettlement in Gaza. So we've got that going on as an Israeli minister hints at annexing parts of Gaza. So we got stuff going on in Israel still, and apparently Thailand and Cambodia are trading accusations, but their fragile truce is holding. But Thailand accused Cambodia of a second ceasefire violation in 2 days, but it's off to a shaky start in the wake of fighting and everything like that. So they're saying the 60,000 Gazans coming back to Israel in that whole situation has been killed. 18,500 were children and everything like that. So there's been a lot of fatalities there, just like there's been a lot of fatalities in Ukraine. And apparently Japan has got record heat too. So Japan records highest temperature ever as heat wave lingers. So apparently Japan records a high temperature of 41.2 degrees Celsius that was observed in Hyago Pref and everything like that. So I'm not sure. I'm horrible with Celsius to Fahrenheit conversions, but I think that's at least 100.
100 degrees. They hit 100 degrees Fahrenheit, I think, for the first time.
Wow. That's a lot. Well, it's been hot here too. We've had some temperatures where it was like 111. And apparently, China's leaders are vowing support for economy and crack down on disorderly competition. And they promise to help companies slammed by tariffs as talks with the U.S. are left in limbo. And India says it killed three militants behind spring terrorist attack in Kashmir. And hey, apparently YouTube is to be part of Australia's social media ban. So I guess Australia is going to be banning YouTube accounts for children under 16 in reversal of their previous stance. So if you're a teenager or a preteen, I guess that would be, and some teenagers in Australia, you might not be able to get on YouTube. But I'm sure those kids will find a way to get around that. Kids are very resourceful in ways that they find to get around stuff like that. At least that's what I found from my nephews and other young people that I've known in my life and everything. Is they can be very resourceful, so they'll probably find a way to get around on that. Oh, and it looks like you were right about that tsunami because it says Central and South American authorities have ordered evacuation. So, U.S. West Coast, Hawaii, and Alaska were impacted by tsunami alerts after that massive quake off of Russia that you were talking about. So, the waves have reached Hawaii and California. So, if you go outside, there might be a wave there looking, waiting for you, and everything. So, and then apparently questions emerged about New York City's gunman's mental health and his security sensitive job that he held and everything like that. So apparently, the New York City office shooting raises new corporate security concerns for business leaders. So if you can just walk into any business,
Well, yeah,
and
this is a guy from my city. He's an LA guy, a former football player
right,
who claims he got brain damage. He's dead now, but I think in his suicide note that he blamed, I don't know, insufficient treatment for what he considers his football brain injury, and he went to kill a bunch of I don't know, NFL staffers and took the wrong elevator in the skyscraper. Because if you go to New York or any big city,
Right.
if a building's like 60 stories, they'll probably have two different elevator banks, one for the first 30 stories and the other for the second 30 stories. And he got on the wrong elevator, got off on the wrong floor, and started shooting.
Well, shooting the wrong targets and everything like that. We've been talking a lot about tariffs too, and apparently Trump says Friday tariffs, which are coming up on day after tomorrow, will not be extended. So he said that that's what's going on. And I saw something yesterday that was interesting. I don't know what you think about this, but Bank of America president is actually predicting a boom economy. So they're thinking that with between the tariffs and some of the other things that Trump is doing, that we'll have a boom, not a bust economy.
It could be the preliminary figures for the quarter that just ended, the second quarter, have growth at 3%, which
Right.
is pretty decent. But it's all kind of manipulated in different ways because of the tariffs have been flying back and forth. They're on, then they're off. Um, we won't really know what they're doing to the economy until we see how many of them stick and until they're stable for a few months.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I know, and I was hoping Steve would be here the last couple of days because I've been meaning to bring this up for a while. But we
oops.
had a liberal to moderate governor that is now going to be running for Senate and everything like that. And apparently, he's already breaking the fundraising record as he kicks off what is expected to be an expensive North Carolina race to replace Senator Tillis. And even Tillis has called Cooper a formidable candidate for the Senate seat. And he apparently offered Watley, who is the Republican chair that is running off of his seat as well, some advice and everything. So even MSNBC is saying Roy Cooper is the Democrats' best hope for winning the North Carolina Senate race. So
But
it'll be interesting because he's, like I said, he's kind of in the mold of Terry Sanford, one of those liberal to moderates. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But he's already broken some records in terms of funding and everything like that. So it'll be interesting to see how this all
so
plays out.
sorry, I'm in the flight path of Burbank Airport, so every 2 minutes you're going to hear a plane go over, and I'll try to mute it when it gets really loud.
Well, no problem. No problem at all. And we got Dr. Sharif here as well. And Trump says that Epstein pouched a young woman from Mar-a-Lago. That raises new questions about what he knew. And then there's the question of the missing minute and everything. Because I was reading some stuff on social media about the missing minute that's supposed to be released because apparently they claimed that the Tombs, they reset the video, which I find hard to believe, every day and everything like that. So there's this whole notion of a missing minute and everything, and maybe even missing multiple minutes that could be it not being a suicide, but something else
Well,
going on.
the FBI claims they have all the time now. They haven't released it all yet, and we'll wait and see. I think they were supposed to have, more than one camera angle, maybe. I don't know. Um,
So hopefully we'll see whether there's actually got clips of him
all
uh,
right, so
hanging
two of the perhaps 1,000 women who were sex trafficked by Epstein um, killed themselves later, and so the young girl at the time, I think, who led to the falling out, according to Trump, between Trump and Epstein, Virginia Giuffre,
something like that.
just killed herself a few months ago. Um, and everybody's making fun of Trump, particularly the late night comedy shows, for being more concerned that Epstein stole an employee of his, more concerned about that than the employee that Epstein was raping the kids that he took. Um, you know,
Yeah, and people are like looking at that and going like, wait a minute, that's got as John says, that bad image and that kind of like way that he promotes himself and everything. Hey, Doctor,
also, the
go ahead.
timeline doesn't add up because Trump continued to be friends with Epstein for 2 years, according to some people, after he poached that employee from Mar-a-Lago.
Right. They were still friends and everything like that. Hey, Dr. Sharif, it looks like the tariffs are going to impact even things in India. Trump says the U.S. will be imposing a 25% on tariff on India from August 1st. So that's in 2 days. And that's in for penalty for trade with Russia. So apparently he's going after them for buying Russian oil. So I just wanted your take on this because Trump says India might face up to 25% duties if deal not agreed. So apparently he's really getting on them for this whole notion of selling oil to Russia.
Yeah, this tariff deal actually very interesting discussions and very interesting deals. I think this is first time we are observing that US actually imposing tariff around the world, and they are trying to control the business and many more strategic things. So I believe that even though Trump says about this 20% tariff and all of the things, but maybe uh, definitely all of the deal under non-disclosure agreement, but definitely they will go for some business deal, and with this deal maybe they will minimize the tariff in India. The same way I'm observing Bangladesh deals. Bangladesh newspaper, they're also publishing that India give them green signal to solve these issues with Bangladesh. This will be interesting. But besides that, I want to share some very specific news from Asia about this disaster. 8.8 quake in Kamchatka triggered tsunami alert across Asia. So Japan sees evacuations and industrial halts. So this may be a natural disaster will happens in Asia, especially with this Japan. And in terms of economy market jitters over impending US tariffs and rate discussions, air fate in Asia surge. So economics definitely it has a huge impact with this tariff and all of the things. In terms of conflict, I already discussed in the last show this Thailand and Cambodia maintain fragile ceasefires, aim serious displacement and casualties. This is definitely good. In terms of climate, we are observing that there are flood hit in Vietnam, Philippines, South Korea, China. So definitely the world population need to be more concerned about climate. In terms of sports, India-Pakistan Asia Cup match under controversies. So this is very interesting. You know that India and Pakistan both have previous records with this all of the controversy. Let's see what happens. In terms of policy, Asia Pacific prepare for the global plastic territory talks. So definitely, it's another climate-related initiative. And in terms of celebrations, we are observing there are a lot of concert, there are a lot of media activities, sports, cultural activities happening around Asia. So Regis Hiroshima concert today as part of its Asia tour. So that's all from my side about these Asian situations today. So
Well,
yeah.
I appreciate that and everything like that. Apparently, and I know that it's a major issue in California. It's also an issue in uh, North Carolina and even in California and a number of other places as well, even New York. But apparently, there's a massive bipartisan housing bill moving forward in Congress, and it's being put together by Tim Scott and Elizabeth Warren, who have agreed on a sweeping housing package. So the Senate banking advances first large bipartisan housing package in a year. So it looks like they are trying to find a way to get the American dream of housing. And apparently, it just passed the congressional hurdle. So we'll see if this actually gets some people to get some better housing options in the United States. But what's your take on that? Because I know that it is a major housing crisis in California. I know we've had some housing issues as well. So maybe this is a case where there might be some bipartisan support for something to happen.
Well, that would be great. That was a big part of Kamala Harris's platform. And if you, the Democrats are usually willing to let the Republicans take credit for ideas started by the Democrats. And there's a little bit the other way too. But if the Republicans think they can get a political win, then then maybe they'll pick up this idea and go with it because they need help for the midterms. because people are pissed at Trump about Trump Epstein. And it's still more than a year away until people start campaigning and voting. But the Republicans are looking at Trump's approval of about 44%, which, if you look at the history of presidents who have approval that low, they lose the House.
Yep, that's very true. And apparently, Senator Cory Booker is actually angry at the Democrats. He had a outburst yesterday saying that they're complacent Democrats needed to wake up and everything. And this was over police funding. So Democrats clashed over police funding in a heated Senate floor debate, and Booker confronts fellow Democrats over that bipartisan police bill. So it sounds like it's some bipartisan agreement, but one of the leaders is not that happy about that particular bipartisan agreement. But I do know that law and order and criminal and police reform and police things will probably be one of those things that get tackled as well.
I mean, there are plenty of lunatics in the House and the Senate right now. And they're probably, more Republican lunatics than Democratic lunatics. So you got to see, to get anything passed, the margins are small enough. You got to win over the lunatics too. I'm sure there are plenty of reasonable people in Congress, but you never hear them. You hear the noisy idiots. So I don't know if this thing has a shot.
You do hear the noisy idiots. Apparently, the EPA is looking to overturn the scientific reason for climate regulation.
This is crazy. This part is crazy. That the EPA does scientific research, and then based on the research, they come up with recommendations about pollution. And Trump wants to remove the EPA's power to make scientific recommendations. And we just throw up our hands and say, everybody do whatever the fuck they want, and without regard for the environmental consequences.
Yeah, that's very true. We've got Toby joining us as well, and I'm sure he'll have some thoughts on some of these stories also. But the other thing is that, and we've moved to the Science and Medicine show because he's moved to California in your neck of the woods, and we actually recorded the first one today at its next to new time slot. So we recorded it at 9 today, but its new time slot will actually be 9:30, I think is what Nick said, instead of the regular 2 that it had been at, because he had been in Hawaii, so he wanted it earlier. Dr. Patmos did, but we did not get to this notion of this new CDC director. So maybe on the next episode we can talk about that. But Dr. Suzanne Menarines has been confirmed to lead the CDC, and apparently she's had some interesting things to say about medicine and things as well. So she might be another one of those folks that is kind of just in the agreement with RFK and a number of other folks in that space. I don't know what you know or don't know about this Suzanne Menarines, because I'm just now learning about her over the last day or so, but apparently she's going to be leading the Center for Disease Control.
I don't know. I'm Googling her right now.
Okay. Yeah, that's Monaarez. If anybody else is Googling her as well and everything like that. So yeah, that's what is the spelling of it and all like that.
I see her. Up she comes. All right, let's find. I've just got to read what Wikipedia says.
Right. Any interesting background things on her that you see?
So she doesn't seem to be the standard lunatic that Trump likes to appoint.
She seems to be.
I don't know. Like, okay, so she was confirmed yesterday,
right,
along party lines. All Republicans for her, all Democrats against her. So, I don't know. I got to look around and see if she has like lunatic beliefs.
See if she's got any lunatic beliefs and everything like that. Agent W, while we're looking up about the new CDC head and everything, it looks like Ghislaine Maxwell is saying that she will testify if she gets some concessions and everything like that. So I just wanted your take on this, and will she testify? And is this whole Epstein case the new Watergate or Trumpgate, as it might be, and everything like that? But it does look like she's wants some conditions in order to testify.
Trump is doing everything he can to not release the Epstein list because he knows. I mean, not it doesn't matter if he's on it or not because they've already accepted the that Trump was okay walking in on teenagers and his pageants and all the other misogyny and talking about how he'd like to sleep with his daughter. Yeah, they've already accepted all that stuff. But he's acting like he's very, very guilty by hiding everything. The whole Maxwell, I mean, she was part of the issue. She was a main one molesting kids.
Yeah, she's a pimp. She's a freaking pimp.
So Trump is going to pardon her.
Trump's going to partner her. Yeah, he'll probably partner and everything like that. You know, I was seeing something about Trump, and I'm sure John will find this fascinating as well and everything like that. That was quite scary. But, you know, one of Trump's wives passed away and everything like that. And I found out that wife was buried at one of his golf courses, and he can actually get a tax credit for that because that's why he be classified as a cemetery.
That's why he did it, for the tax credits.
That's pretty well known.
Yeah, I mean, he's done a lot of stuff like this. He has goats on one of his golf courses, because then he can get an agricultural tax exemption because it's some kind of farm, because he's got goats. I mean, he'll do, he's got, I guess, some pretty good accountants who tell him various strategies he can try. So there's a guy on Twitter I trust who says that this Dr. Maneris is, at least not on the surface, a quack, that she's got a PhD, she's worked in the field, she might be perfectly competent to run her agency, which is, as this guy tweets, a relief.
Yep, we got to have some people that have got some common sense and all along those lines versus some of these other ones that don't have common sense.
Plus, she's got a very, to be sexist and creepy, she's got a hot scientific look. She's got like long silver hair. She's got glasses. She looks like, somebody you might cast as a scientist in a movie.
Oh, she's got that librarian look as well, because when I was looking at the picture, she
did
have that librarian look.
Yeah, and as a creepy old guy, I have a tendency to think in those terms sometimes. I mean, not as creepy an old guy as Trump, who's like 150 times creepier, but still.
And apparently, Pope Leo is facing his first charisma test at the Jubilee Youth event. So that's something that goes on regularly with the Catholic youth and everything like that. And apparently he gave an unexpected Pope Mobile salute. And definitely he was talking about young people for young people. And apparently a lot of Catholics are flocking to Rome for a youth jubilee. And we'll see whether he's able to continue to get the support of the young people, because I think he had pretty popular.
So every 25 years is a Jubilee year. So it's 2025, and Catholics from all over the world are invited to come to Rome and, see the Pope and get their sins forgiven. And it's a huge tourism. I think they're bringing 80 million people to Italy this year. It's a big deal for the Catholic Church.
Yeah, that's a real big deal and everything. So definitely that's a big deal. Apparently in Angola, because we try to cover other parts of the world as well, there was more than 1,000 people arrested over the deadly fuel price rise. Because, gas prices and the impact of gas prices are something that impact not just here in the West, but in Africa and Asia as well. So there was a lot of folks that were upset when they saw their gas prices going up in the African nation of Angola. So definitely that is something that folks are paying attention to. And apparently, on a separate note, the Navy is searching for a missing sailor who reportedly went overboard on an aircraft carrier and everything like that. So it looks like he seemed to have, this is reported as recently as an hour ago, to vanish from the ship, and now the Navy thinks they went overboard and everything like that. So apparently he went overboard, and if he was overboard and can't swim, we may never hear from him again and everything like that. But that would be very sad news. But apparently there's a missing sailor still out there in the ocean, but apparently they're thinking that might be a potential.
Here's a tip. Like, only go on a cruise with somebody you trust a lot.
Right.
Because if you have somebody who's going to bump you overboard, that there's no coming back from being bumped off a cruise ship.
And this wasn't even a cruise ship. This was a Navy cruiser. So this was the
Right. But it's just a reminder, like, most people are not going to be joining the Navy, but maybe some of our viewers are going to be going on cruises. And
Yeah,
don't
well,
go
we'll
on
go
one with
cruises.
like some guy that you met like 2 months ago.
Right. Exactly. So that is true and everything. What do you think, and this is for everybody, about when, whether it's zoos or other natural habitats, that they try to cull the animal population due to overcrowding? Because apparently this is a major outcry in Germany, as a zoo killed 12 baboons, and part of that was due to overcrowding of the that particular species and everything like that. So, but apparently there's a lot of backlash in Germany, as Nuremberg Zoo killed 12 healthy baboons, citing lack of space. So they said that there were lack of space despite protests from animal rights groups. So what is our take on this notion of killing animals that are probably perfectly healthy and probably deserve to live just like any human deserves to live?
I mean, what can you say except that it's freaking sad? And I assume that they reached out to hundreds of zoos around the world to see if anybody had room for their extra baboons.
Yeah, let's hope they did that, but you never can tell. Sometimes they might not even do what they should do in all that space.
Before
Yeah,
we go on to other things, sorry for interrupting. I was just
no, you're
thinking
good.
about the Pope and pedophiles in the Catholic Church.
Right.
I used to be a Catholic, I'm no longer one. In fact, I'm very anti. Until the Catholic Church and the Vatican makes outreaches out and really fixes their priests that have had a long history of abusing children, pedophiles, and up until now, there's a long history of that. They've, in fact, have hidden those priests. They have, quote unquote, forgiven them for their sins. As a former Catholic, I would rather than forgive them, they should pay for their pedophiles. The ones that have done that should be accounted for. So
That makes sense. Anybody who's doing these kind of outrageous things should definitely be accounted for. And yeah, there have been uh, noted cases, but I can't just leave it at the Catholics, because there have been other churches and other affiliations that have had
absolutely,
bad
absolutely.
history in that. And
But as billion or however many believers, so they can have parties in Rome all they want, and I would encourage any young people that go to Rome to know the history of the Catholic Church and their history of protecting pedophiles amongst them.
So, I mean, obviously the church has, uh, taken some response, reluctantly and slowly taken responsibility for some of this. There are institutional changes that have been proposed within the church that probably won't happen. Like if you allow married priests, if you give priests like reasonable sexual outlets, people say, well, maybe you'll attract, non-pedophiles to the priesthood. Um, but I don't see married, even though, if you go back 1,000 years, you had married priests. You even had, I think, a few married popes, if you go far enough back in history. But I don't see that, happening in the near future.
I'm a belligerent optimist. It took Pope John Paul I that formally apologized to Galileo 500 years after the fact. So maybe in 500 years, yeah, they'll come out and.
I mean, the last two guys, at least, our current guy and the previous guy, Pope Francis, those guys seemed, like pretty reasonable, decent.
Not good enough, not far enough.
Okay.
In my opinion.
I mean, yeah, it's a conservative organization run by very old guys in denial about the extent of the problem.
like I said, I don't think it's just strictly to the Catholic Church. I have some issues with prosperity ministers in the Christian church, and definitely there are some far right, including some that are MAGA folks that are in the Christian right. That is, in my opinion, part of the predecessors, along with the Tea Party, of the MAGA movement, and all along those lines. Whether that was Jerry Falwell, or whether that was Billy Graham, or whether that was a number of others as well. So definitely there has been some super conservatives in other religions as well, and I can't even let off because I know that there's been some folks that have had some thoughts as to how sane Louis Farrakhan is, and all along there, some of his viewpoints are very interesting, and some of them you're going like, wait a minute, you're thinking that they're folks coming from other planets and stuff like that. So, like I said, there's enough religious turmoil in various faiths.
Well, I mean, all right, beyond the Catholic Church, which at least has been forced to acknowledge the problem. We in America have a problem that we have a major political party run by a self-proclaimed sexual predator.
Yeah.
Now, whether or not Trump did stuff with Epstein, Trump has been on tape repeatedly caught proudly saying that he grabs women's vaginas, that he likes looking at naked teenagers when they're changing in the dressing rooms of the beauty pageants he used to own. This is a guy who that if his daughter weren't his daughter, he would date her, telling a 10-year-old that she'll be hot enough to go out with him in a few years. This is a guy that has made dozens of comments that frame his sexual perspective, which is that, and has been accused credibly by at least 26 women of sexual harassment and assault, and found guilty by liable by two different civil juries of.
As you know, Rick, the MAGA idiots, they're in a cult. To them, I've talked to a few of them in the past. I've stopped, when Trump first came and became in the first term your president. I'd have these conversations to the MAGA idiots. They don't care.
Well, speaking of people not caring, and Sasha will be glad to hear this. In the first, the entire Arab League condemned the October 7th attacks and urged Hamas to disarm at a two-state confab. And apparently the UK says 508 aid trucks are needed a day as 7 more die of malnutrition. But EU and Arab League reaffirmed support for the two-state solution, but they urged Hamas to disarm. So they have urged Hamas to disarm, and they definitely condemned the October 7th attack of a couple of years ago and everything like that. So that is good news that has at least happened in that conflict and everything along those lines. So I don't know if you got any thoughts about that, or if Jacoby does, or anybody else, but that is something that I just saw come across the news screens and everything like that. So apparently this is something that is out there, that they have the attack and have definitely asked Hamas to disarm.
Has somebody asked Hitler to disarm? I don't remember that. The war was over only once Germany capitulated and signed the Pact of Capitulation. Something like that has to sooner or later happen in Gaza. Short of that, there will be no end. People will suffer, and the only guilty party is Hamas and those who support Hamas. It's just as clear to me.
Well, on the flip side of that, Sasha, Netherlands has banned the Israeli minister from entry over advocacy for ethnic cleansing. So Dutch has summoned their Israeli ambassador and imposed travel ban on ministers because that's part of their sanctions over what's going on in Gaza. So there are some folks that are feeling that Gaza situation, and I think even Jacoby has mentioned this, is a form of ethnic cleansing and everything like that. So apparently, but France did fail to gain support for the Palestinian state at the UN and everything like that. So
congratulations to Dutch politicians. Actually, they don't care about Gaza or anything else. They do care, though, that the Palestinian or Arab terrorists can kill them, parliamentarians, Dutch parliamentarians, and or their families. So they are helping themselves and their families, not to Gazans. They can make all kind of declarations and whatever. It means nothing. All that noise and 75 cents will buy you a cup of coffee.
Yeah. Any take on that? Anybody else?
Um,
Go ahead, Jacoby.
Sasha, got a question because bounce back and forth. Do you think that Israel can do anything more or help the people, the innocent people of Palestine, more than what they're doing now? Or do you think that the innocent people of Palestine should just suffer?
It's a difficult question. Jacoby. Sure, they can do more. There is no doubt about that. The problem is that all the food that arrives to Gaza, it's all being taken by the Hamas.
That's actually false.
Oh, it is. How do you
Yeah,
know
they've actually reported that.
Who
and
are
that
you
was actually
listening to? You're listening to
Israel.
stupid propaganda.
All the-
That's not what's happening. I saw myself where they show how Israelis deliver
You
hundreds
saw
of
yourself. You were there.
Yes, I saw it on television.
You saw it on television.
On-
so
on-
you were
on-
not there. So you did not see it
Okay,
yourself.
okay. Wait a sec.
So what I'm just
I
pointing
saw
out
it
to
on
you.
CNN. CNN has reporters on the ground.
Yeah, they reported that is not true. That is not happening. They
the
reported that that's not true.
The picture tells it all. The picture shows the hundreds of trucks, Israeli trucks, arriving to Gaza, and they are trying to distribute food. That's extremely difficult process. Delivering the food is not. But to distribute among people who really need it, that's a problem. That's difficult. And who makes it difficult is Hamas. And I saw
Actually,
it
that's
myself.
not, again, that's not true. That's not true. That's not true.
I
Even
saw
the
it
source that you
myself.
said, that wasn't true.
Story, I have to make a choice whether to listen to what you're saying or my own eyes when I saw it
But
on CNN.
Sasha, you said, let me help you. You said that you saw it on TV, you saw it on CNN, and blah, 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 blah. Well, CNN did not report that it's Hamas taking the food. It reported that there are people who are struggling and trying to get the food because they are in dire situations, but it is not actually Hamas that is actually stealing and doing all the things that you are saying that that's happening. So
well, what's happened is they showed hundreds of Israeli trucks which are delivering the food. That beyond any reasonable doubts. You're right. They did not take picture of Hamas fighters taking food from the struggling Palestinians. Okay, they didn't show it because it's impossible. You have to infiltrate the Hamas on such a level that, yes, okay, let's rule that out of question. So what you're saying is that you don't have proof that Hamas indeed was taking food from Palestinians. Maybe so, but the result is obvious. There is plenty of food is delivering.
No, there's not plenty of food, because if there were plenty of food, there would not be the starvation and the desperation.
If Hamas is taking all
how many locations for food right now, Sasha? How many locations for food right now?
I don't know exactly.
4.
Okay, that's okay.
How many were there?
I don't know that.
50 plus. So when you drop from 50 plus down to 4, that means there's a major problem in the food distribution. Evidently, from what I've heard and from what I've read, is in the southern part of Gaza, because they're trying to move people out of Gaza. So all this stuff, all these things, we just have to be honest about the situation. And that's why I ask you the question: do you think there could be more done? And when you started, you said yes, and then you dropped down to, well, let me blame somebody else, because really, no. I mean, if you think that something more can be done, let's all agree on that.
You're right.
For that,
Israelis could do, they could deliver food to each door like a DoorDash service. That's what they could do, but
they could have the situation back to what it used to be, back to at least 50 plus areas where they could deliver food and actually help these individuals, but they're not doing that.
The amount of food required is only a fraction of what is needed to avert famine. That's my understanding.
Rick, you're on mute.
No, I just said
Sorry, airplanes keep flying over, and I have to
the
keep
amount of
muting.
food, the amount
But
of
part of the
food being
problem
provided,
is, oh,
it is only a fraction of what is needed to avert famine in Gaza.
so I think the Israeli style of governing is Netanyahu plus some far right lunatics who do, like, their style is very unapologetic, very Trumpy, and it's like, our way or the highway with Netanyahu, and so their PR is bad, and 1,000, according to the Palestinians, 1,000 Palestinians have been slaughtered trying to get to the food because a bunch of people start encroaching on the food, and Israeli soldiers fire into the crowd. It leads to dead people. Israel currently has about 40,000 troops stationed in Gaza. The Israeli army has up to 300,000 troops it can call on. And if they were, a more apologetic government, a less belligerent government, they maybe would take a few thousand troops and figure out how to work on food distribution and improve their public image. But Netanyahu's government doesn't govern that way.
Well, don't forget, Tariq, that Israel is at war. It's a real war which started on October 7th. And when you are at war, you are not at liberty to have more or less humanitarian help intact and other wonderful things. And remember, in the Second World War, there was no humanitarian considerations. People were fighting to kill or to be killed. That's all. So Israelis now have to finish this horrible war. Now, it should be now much easier than ever before because I don't think that there are any live hostages around. And if there is no live hostages around, then you just go in with bulldozers, with tanks, with artillery, with everything
Sasha.
you got, and you just go and liberate that territory.
Sasha, what you're calling for again is the genocide and all the other stuff.
Something like this, yes.
That is one, a war crime.
Oh,
So
yeah.
you're calling for war crime, and you're also calling for the death of millions of people.
You know what? Whoever is stronger will take over. Let them fight. The strongest will win, the weakest will fall, and the weakest has to run for their life.
Again, you're calling for war crimes, you're calling for genocide, you're calling for something that
you can call it genocide. I don't care.
You're calling for
I don't care. I remember what
that is horrible.
I remember.
So again, instead of going down the pathway that you're going down, let's try and end this conversation before it gets even worse from what you're putting out. Let's try and end it on something where it's a positive note, where you actually agree that Israel could and should do more in terms of helping the individuals to stop the famine that is actually happening right now.
Well, if it wouldn't be for Hamas, Israel...
No, stop that. You're going down a path. We just agreed. Let's not go down a path where it's going to make you look even worse than what you're doing right now, calling for genocide and all this other stuff. Let's stop that.
That's okay. Listen, I don't care what people think. I have my own view on these things. I know what is Holocaust. I know that it's not ever will happen again. And Israel is doing everything what's possible and impossible to prevent another Holocaust. And for that, it has to liberate its own territory. And Gaza and West Bank is Israeli territory. And it has to...
Sasha, listen to what you're saying.
Yeah.
There was an old saying that said, when the oppressed becomes the oppressor. So what you're calling for is you're saying you're trying to prevent a Holocaust, so you're going to commit genocide on somebody else. That is ridiculous.
Well,
so please, again, stop.
Prevent
Holocaust. Let's talk about people. Yes. We agreed that they should do more to help those individuals that are struggling right now, the people of Palestine. And this could help actually bring peace to that area by extending a hand and helping. So again, we agreed that they should be able to, they should do more. Let's leave it at that.
You don't help terrorists and killers. If Jews
The
could
kids
eliminate
that
enough
are there
Germans
dying
during
are
Second
not
World War, there
terrorists.
could be a
The
Holocaust. If
innocent
Jews
people of
were
Palestine
simply
are not
killing
terrorists.
Germans as many as possible, there would not be a
You're
Holocaust.
going down a path that I said that we don't need to go down. Let's just
Okay,
leave
that's
it
your
at the
opinion.
fact that you and
You
I
are
agree
entitled to
that
your
Israel should do more.
I have no problem with that. You're entitled to your own opinion. That's fine.
So Israel controls 75% of Gaza. Gaza's only 150 square miles. If they're not constrained by hostages, they should fairly easily be able to take over 95% of Gaza. And if they own that much of Gaza, they should be able to figure out how to set up food distribution systems.
Well, Rick, they do currently. Israel controls the food in and out, and they were the ones that closed the food distribution centers. And so, honestly, if they could, I mean, they can provide more food. They can figure it out, but they have chosen not to. And that's where the problem comes into play. And that's just being honest about the situation. And that's not trying to put any propaganda or anything, go down some crazy path. That's just the reality of the situation. And we all want both we all want the innocent people not to be killed. And we want the famine to end. We want the suffering to end. So it's just a matter of why can't we focus there? Because we can, I mean, looking at a person dying from starvation is not what should be happening to, little kids right now, or even the women and children, even the adults, all the people that are innocent sitting there. There should be some way to get them food. And right now, Israel does control the trucks and the food going in. So I think they can do more and figure out ways to do that.
I think what Israel should do is to establish food distribution centers outside of Gaza.
No.
People, you want to delivery like a DoorDash or something like this right to your home free of charge? No, it's not right way to do it.
There are food distribution centers on the inside of Gaza already.
It's impossible to distribute food in Gaza. So
no, it's not
outside of Gaza. Come, take your food and go away.
Now you're talking about ethnically cleansing the area. No, take the food to where the food distribution centers were. You can actually establish other food distribution centers within Gaza where
why Israel has to provide food for Gaza's people? Why? Is it Gaza Israeli territory? If yes, then Israel should provide them food. But if it's not Israeli territory, then why is it?
Sasha again.
Claire, I think we're clear on the various opinions. I think it's pointless to continue on this. We understand where my Canadian friend out on the West Coast lies, and we understand your point of view, Jatovi. Doesn't seem like there's going to be resolution. We can keep talking about it, but I don't think anything's going to change.
Yeah, I agree.
They both have their strong opinions and everything like that. You'll be glad to know, John, that apparently Nick is in the building, so maybe he's got some conversation for you and everything along those lines. If he's in the background and everything like that, so maybe he'll pop on screen and y'all can talk about what's going on with your what was that you were trying to find out from him why you were a lazy Canadian or something like that and everything like that. So maybe
I'm sad to see that Nick is not again on the call, and I was hoping for a bit more comedy, like I mentioned yesterday, calling Canadians lazy. So, I enjoyed that. That was funny.
He's back. He has popped in on the call, but I know he's getting his new apartment in line and everything like that. So maybe he'll pop on and explain what he meant by lazy Canadians for you and Sasha and everything like that. But he is on the back of the fields and everything like that, but I haven't seen him turn on his camera, so maybe he'll come on tomorrow and he can explain what that remark meant and all along those lines. Hey Rick, what else is going on in the world? We got about another 9 minutes and then I've got to run to an appointment and everything, but I will be ready by 1 o'clock for you, Sasha.
I don't know. I'm barely awake as usual. We got the Trump Epstein thing continues to rumble along, but we'll see if America has a long enough attention span to remain pissed off about, So, I'm looking around to see if I can find anything else of interest.
That's fair enough and everything. Otherwise, we'll get ready to wrap up very shortly and along those lines and everything.
Well, okay, here's Venus Williams.
Yes.
45 years old, is playing good tennis. I mean, not great tennis, but she's won some matches. And they interviewed her after a match, and she said, "Well, I was looking at my insurance, and if I don't return to tennis, I have to go back on Cobra for insurance." So she went back to get health insurance. Now she's likely a half a billionaire, and she's married to a billionaire, so she doesn't really have to worry. But I love that she's saying that.
Yeah, that's a good thing, and interesting that she said that and everything, because like you said, she is married to, I believe, the founder of Reddit and everything like that. So she's definitely married to a billionaire. I believe that's the one that is married to that particular individual and everything like that. So
so we just lost one of the world's great reality stars, Ozzy Osbourne. Mm-hmm. But wouldn't you want to see a bunch of cameras to see what Venus Williams' life is like? Coming back to tennis at 45, married to the guy who started Reddit. That would be some fascinating stuff.
It would be some fascinating stuff. Speaking of Ozzy Osbourne, I saw that because his funeral is supposed to be coming up, and all along those lines, that he wanted all kinds of entertainment. He said that they could even play some P. Diddy, and definitely wanted some upbeat music. I think he's got a brass band and everything, but they said that he also wanted a prank of some sort. So there might be a knock coming from the coffin or something else, but apparently that was one of his requests, was he wanted there to be some humor as he is laid to rest and everything like that. So there's some speculation that you may hear a knock on the coffin or something else, implying that he isn't really gone, or some other sort of prank.
Okay. I mean, Ozzy Osbourne is one of those guys, kind of like Trump, where you can't tell whether the stuff he does and says is him just effing around, or it's because he's an addled idiot. So
there's no telling with him. Like you said, he is definitely a.
Yeah, I mean, when my mother-in-law started, really suffering from Alzheimer's, it was hard to tell whether it was the Alzheimer's talking or whether my mother-in-law was just saying her normal nonsense. So,
I guess since we're coming to the end and we're talking about how crazy Trump is, this is a happy note that we can end on. The only way that it kind of makes him sound like he's making sense is if it's this way, because they started doing these, and these are hilarious. So, Mark, yeah, you can put that up if you want to, and I'll hit play. It's pretty funny. This is when he met the UK just recently.
The other thing I say to Europe, we will not allow a windmill to be built in the United States. They're killing us. They're killing the beauty of our scenery, our valleys, our beautiful plains. And I'm not talking about airplanes. I'm talking about beautiful plains, beautiful areas in the United States. And you look up and you see windmills all over the place. It's a horrible thing. It's the most expensive form of energy. It's no good. They're made in China, almost all of them. When they start to rust and rot in 8 years, you can't really turn them off. You can't bury them. They won't let you bury the propellers, the props, because there's a certain type of fiber that doesn't go well with the land. That's what they say. The environmentalists say you can't bury them because the fiber doesn't go well with the land. In other words, if you bury it, it will harm our soil. The whole thing is a con job. It's very expensive. And in all fairness, Germany tried it, and wind doesn't work. You need subsidy for wind, and energy should not need subsidy. With energy, you make money. You don't lose money. But more important than that is it ruins the landscape. It kills the birds. They're noisy. You have a certain place in the Massachusetts area that over the last 20 years had 1 or 2 whales wash ashore. And over the last short period of time, they had 18. Okay? Because it's driving them loco. It's driving them crazy. Now, windmills will not come. It's not going to happen in the United States. And it's very expensive. And I would love to see. I mean, today I'm playing the best course, I think, in the world, Turnberry. Even though I own it, it's probably the best course in the world, right? And I look over the horizon and I see 9 windmills. It's like right at the end of the 18th. I said, isn't that a shame? What a shame. You have the same thing all over Europe in particular. You have windmills all over the place. Some of the countries prohibit it, but people ought to know that these windmills are very destructive. They're environmentally unsound, just the exact opposite. Because the environmentalists, they're not really environmentalists. They're political hacks. These are people that they almost want to harm the country. But you look at these beautiful landscapes all over the world. Many countries have gotten smart. They will not allow it. They will not. It's the worst form of energy, the most expensive form of energy. But windmills should not be allowed. Okay.
See, him as a baby talking makes more sense than actually him as an adult, because the man just doesn't know what he's talking about. He's just an idiot.
One of many reasons why he's near the bottom, not the bottom of the president's story.
Nick, your voice is effed up. I have to apologize. Nick, so I have to apologize. I've got COVID, so I'm gonna blame it on brain fog. But I confused Venus and Serena Williams. Venus is only worth $95 million. Serena is worth $300 million and is married to the founder of Reddit. So I apologize for making a dumb error. But I stand by the Williams sisters need a reality show.
Yeah, him and Ozzy Osbourne. Boy, those are people that I just can't wait to emulate. You know, what we need a reality show is somebody who will make America great again, like Donald Trump. He's got his 24/7 reality show.
Hold on. No. Trump had a reality show that ran 22 seasons. Only the first 2 seasons got decent ratings because it was a miserable show to watch. Hosted by a guy who didn't even say his own words. He was scripted. He's been a reality star, but barely, because nobody wanted to watch his crappy show.
And Nick, I've got to run out and everything. But if you want to go over it, you can go over it. But I've got a dart and everything like that. So.
What, Mark? Mark has to go. Okay.
Yeah, I've got to go. But if y'all want to go over it, go for it.
Okay. Yeah. Well, the thing is, all I was going to do is try to harass our Canadian friends about Donald Trump, because Canada still hasn't made a deal. They still don't know what they're doing. And of course, yeah, he knocks the windmills because they kill birds. Why do Democrats like killing birds? You know, so people walk into birds fly into the windmills and they get cut up, and that's supposed to be good? I don't think so. And Holland, they have lots of windmills. How'd that work for them? Didn't work for them at all. They just end up with more people. It's horrible.
Windmills are just fine.
And they're ugly. So he's right. Just get rid of those stupid ones. Let's stay with things that we know, like fossil fuels.
There you go, MAGA for you. There you go. Perfect example.
Fossil fuels work. This other stuff, it's just crazy. We'll see. Anyway, I think we're at the hour, and I think we have another show coming up right afterwards. So we're going to have to get going, but we're going to thank everybody for watching the World Edition on the Pod TV Network. And I think we're going to be seeing everybody tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.